Hey guys, let's get more news about Dallas, but first, don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. Cowboys at Panthers Day Afterthoughts. Marist Liufau is a great sign for the future of the defense. The Dallas Cowboys won on Sunday, and we have some thoughts about it all one day later. The Dallas Cowboys are winners of 3 of their last 4. When this sentence is true in the month of December, then you are generally talking about a very good football team. Obviously that is not the case in our current moment, as the Cowboys are a month away from having only 2025 to look forward to, in all likelihood. Multiple things can be true at the same time though, and while this season is just about ready to be put on the shelf and never talked about again, the way that the team is currently playing is objectively impressive. This is all the more true when we consider how they got here. Following their loss to the Houston Texans, the Cowboys were 3-7 and on the verge of some truly diabolical records. Since then they stuck their foot in the ground and beat a Washington Commanders team that has impressed even more ever since, took care of business against the New York Giants on Thanksgiving Day, arguably should have beaten the Cincinnati Bengals, and thoroughly dominated a Carolina Panthers team that had been playing really well as of late. Given the state of the Cowboys, the idea that Carolina was putting it together will be lost all of a sudden, and people will likely dismiss it as just the Panthers. Make no mistake about it though, the Cowboys dismantled the Panthers outside of a horrible 2-play sequence near the end of the first half. Here are our thoughts on the game and where the Cowboys stand after it with one day's worth of thought and reflection. It remains devastating that DeMarvion Overshown is all but officially lost for the 2025 season. He was really emerging as a star, and being without him will hurt this group. Those circumstances have made it difficult to feel good about anything else. But understanding that we are having a different and separate conversation, the opportunity that has opened for Marist Liufau is one that is being capitalized on. Liufau came in against the Bengals and made an immediate impact. He continued that solid form on Sunday at Carolina with a forced fumble on the first defensive possession that Dallas was a part of. All game long, he was a force within the middle of the group. It seems fair to say that the Cowboys found a legitimate player at the end of last year's 3rd round, one who they are going to need to depend on for some time. Thankfully, he appears ready for the challenge. There is no question that Rico Dowdle is running incredibly well for the Cowboys right now. He should absolutely be celebrated and applauded. We are about a month away from NFL draft conversations kicking off in earnest, and there are plenty of Cowboys fans who want to see the team draft Boise State running back Ashton Jeanty. Jeanty was incredible and will probably have some special moments in the college football playoff that justify the hype, but I feel like Biff Tannen in that something about all of this feels very familiar. In the lost season of 2015, the Cowboys proved that they could, for all intents and purposes, plug anyone behind their offensive line and produce a viable performance. Darren McFadden wasn't the featured back until that season was already well lost and still finished with 1,000 yards. You would think that such a performance would have convinced Dallas that they could have found another way to improve at the running back spot without spending the 4th overall pick on the position. The Cowboys will obviously not be picking that high, but again, doesn't this feel somewhat similar? We know that the Cowboys are going to ignore free agency based on who they have been for over a decade now, which means that their 1st-round pick, wherever it lands, is the most premium resource that they will spend over the offseason. Devoting it to Jeanty, as talented as he is, feels like a luxury this team can't afford, especially when they are seeing what someone like Rico Dowdle is doing at the moment. To add to the point, McFadden did what he did behind the peak version of the offensive line we all knew and loved. Dowdle is doing it behind a makeshift group. This is a very important lesson that the Cowboys need to show they have learned. In the stock report for this week, it was noted that the Cowboys have gone into 2 different seasons with a high level of dependence on Jalen Tolbert. Neither has panned out. This is unfortunate, and while there are examples to prove every point, the overwhelming likelihood is that Tolbert is not going to turn into a proper running mate for CeeDee Lamb. That is something that has to be acted on. For too long now the Cowboys have depended on their star wide receiver to lift them up individually, whether that be CeeDee Lamb or Amari Cooper before him. There was a brief moment in spurts of the 2021 season where we got to see them together, but injuries and whatnot impacted seeing the duo operating together with one another. There are a number of needs on this roster and we can debate the order that we want to put them in, but in today's NFL you absolutely need a legitimate threat as your second wide receiver. So much is made about getting help for Dak Prescott, and while this is residually accomplishing that, CeeDee Lamb needs help. Hopefully the Cowboys have learned this lesson along with the many others that we have challenged them to take away from this season. Jalen Tolbert is a fine depth wide receiver and can have his moments as this game exemplified, but the time to act on more is here. Cowboys COO Stephen Jones has firm stance on Micah Parsons trade rumors. Micah Parsons is the Dallas Cowboys' best defensive player, and COO Stephen Jones doesn't see him going anywhere. The Dallas Cowboys have a lot of housekeeping to do this offseason in order to improve their roster and put the franchise back on the path toward contention. One rumor that has persisted over the last few weeks and months has been whether or not star pass rusher Micah Parsons will be back in 2025, and if the Cowboys are considering taking calls on a trade for the three-time Pro Bowler. After all, with his rookie contract coming to an end, Parsons will be due a big money extension. Not to mention, the Cowboys have already tied up a good amount of money in Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb extensions, affecting their ability to go out and bring in talent via free agency. More, Travis Hunter beats potential Cowboys draft pick Ashton Jeanty for Heisman Trophy. That said, according to Cowboys COO Stephen Jones, sending away a player of Parsons' caliber is not a way to cultivate a winning football environment. Obviously we're totally all in on Dak and CD, Jones told NFL.com reporter Ian Rappaport. But after that, then you still shape things, including Micah. But Micah's a great player. You don't do well in this league letting guys like Micah, usually, leave the house. Jones even took that one step further, telling Rappaport that he can't imagine there's a scenario where Parsons is not wearing a star on his helmet. Ultimately, Parsons' future in Dallas will come down to whether or not the two sides can come to an agreement on his extension. Given his stature, Parsons is projected to earn upward of $37 to $38 million per year over 5 years, making him one of the highest-paid players in the NFL, and further restricting Dallas' ability to acquire talent in other areas. Then again, that could be well worth it for a 3-time All-Pro with 245 tackles, 49 sacks, 59 tackles for loss, and 108 quarterback hits in just 4 seasons. And based on the Cowboys' history of extending their top players off of rookie deals, it would seem that it is a matter of when, and not if, they squash the trade rumors and sign Parsons for the long term. Micah Parsons reacts to Cowboys trade rumors with encouraging message. Dallas Cowboys star Micah Parsons responded to recent NFL trade rumors regarding his future in Big D. Dallas Cowboys Nation was rocked by news that star edge rusher Micah Parsons could be traded in the offseason after comments made by COO Stephen Jones over the weekend. Now, Parsons is responding. Parsons discussed the rumors during the latest episode of his podcast, saying he hopes to finish his career with the Cowboys. "We're gonna figure out a way for me to be a Cowboy for life," Parsons said on The Edge. The comments match remarks from the All-Pro over the summer saying he would only consider 2 teams if he moves on from Dallas, but his preference is to remain in Big D. This season, Parsons has recorded 32 tackles, 8.5 sacks, and a forced fumble. Parsons recorded multiple sacks in several games. Up next for the Cowboys is a Sunday night football showdown with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at AT&T Stadium. And you fan? What do you think of the situation of Micah Parsons? Leave your opinion in the comments.